RPM Straight Talk Podcast Teen Ministry, where we keep it real.
Today we're going to be coming to you guys with our topic, what are healthy ways to deal with anger? And we're going to be starting with me, and I'm going to read my scripture first. So, my scripture is Ephesians 4:26, and that reads, "Be angry, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not make room for the devil." I chose this scripture because it really embodies what we're talking about here in this topic, and I really want to go deep in this. I really want to go deep in this topic because it's something that's healthy and important for kids, or should I say teens, to understand. So yeah, that's pretty much why I chose the scripture.
It's a good scripture. My scripture is Psalms 37:8. It says, "Cease from anger and take wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise way to do evil." I'm sorry, let me reread that. "Cease from anger and take wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise way to do evil." So this means that, I picked this one because it really comes from the topic that we picked, which the topic was, what are healthy ways to deal with anger? And it connects to it by the scripture talking about anger. So that's why I picked that one.
Okay, that makes sense. So, that was actually a really good scripture. So for mine, I'm going to reread it one more time, and then I'm going to go into my first point. "Be angry, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not make room for the devil." So something that I actually wanted to do that was, different, that I don't usually do, I looked up what Google says about this topic. And Google said that common roots of anger include fear, pain, and frustration. For example, some people become angry as a fearful reaction to uncertainty. So I'm going to break that down. So common roots of anger include fear, pain, and frustration. Sometimes we may be in fear, so we may be scared that something's gonna happen. We may be scared that you never know. You could be scared of anything. Pain, you could also be in pain. So if you're hurt and maybe you're just you can get angry because you're hurt. And I remember one time I was on the pogo stick after we first got it for Christmas, and we didn't really know how to use them at first. And when I got on, I would fall every time, and I would just get so mad, and I'd be like, what's the point of learning how to use it? It's not like it's going to be fun anyway. And now I know how to use pogo sticks because I learned, and I went through pain to learn how to use it, but it's useful. And sometimes we go through frustration, which things that just make us angry, and that's what make certain people angry. But it's not about getting angry that's bad, it's learning how to deal with your frustration that's bad. So that's what you have to do. You have to learn how to deal with your frustration.
So I'm going to reread my scripture. My scripture is, "Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise way to do evil." So the first part of the scripture that I'm going to be coming from is cease from anger. This means that you should stay away from anger, because if you do, you can live. If you stay away from anger, you can live a great life. And if you don't, you will have enemies for the wrong reason. But if you stay away from anger, then you can still get enemies. I'm not saying that, if you live a happy life, you won't have any enemies. You can still get enemies from going on a higher level, because they could be mad that you're higher than them or things like that. I'm not saying that you should try and get a higher level than somebody else just so you can just be feeling yourself. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you should want to try to get higher and have a better relationship with God. So
that's good.
I looked up what cease means, and that means to bring or come to an end. So that means that if you're dealing with anger, you should stop it. Mm-hmm. If you always get angry, if you are bipolar, and you always get angry really quick.
Well, no, that's not
and
bipolar means.
I mean, if you get angry really quick,
you have anger issues.
Yeah,
Just
anger
ask,
issues.
yeah.
Then you should try and calm that down, because sometimes, well, most of the time, all the time, it's not good. So
yeah. So that was actually really good, and that brought me to my second point, that sometimes we may be scared, we may be angry, we may be going through something, and it doesn't matter what it is. The situation doesn't really matter. But sometimes we may be in pain and we may be frustrated, but God does everything for a reason, and He knows the reason, and that's why we have to work through whatever it is, because God has us and God's helping us get through everything. And the things that God does, it's teaching us as a lesson and something that you're going through to help strengthen you. And that's like something that I want to compare to my life. Lately I've been like doing stuff with weights. I'm not trying to, but I've been doing stuff with the weights for like the past week, and at first I was going so strong, I was doing a lot, and I was like, oh, it's nothing. And then after like 4 days, I woke up and my whole body was just sore, and it was like I could barely move, but now I'm perfectly fine. And I was hurting for like 2 days, but I've gotten stronger. And sometimes you have to go through that hurting phase just for you to get stronger. And that's pretty much just what we encourage you guys to do today. And that's my main goal of what I want you guys to get out of this.
So my second part of the scripture that I'm going to be explaining is forsake wrath. This means that you shouldn't get used to being mad to the point when you're mad all the time. Forsake means to obtain something. This means that you should abandon madness, which means that you shouldn't let anyone bring anger to you. And if somebody brings anger to you, you should just calm down. Because lately, and I think it's first block, in my first block class, which is homeroom, we have, that's basically kind of like health, but it's more like calming health. So it teaches you ways to calm down from anger, and ways you could not be frustrated and things like that. That's what my first block is, and that has actually helped me a lot, because I haven't really been angry like that, and I feel like this could really help everybody else too.
Yeah, so that's actually really true, because I think they've implemented that in schools, because lately I've actually had that class too. On A days at the end of the school, we stay an extra 20 minutes, and it tells us how to cope with emotions. And yeah, that's just something that's good. But that's all we have for you guys today, and we just want you guys to be able to get out of this message that anger it's okay to have a range of emotions, but sometimes you have to learn how to cope with them. And
come back to the next podcast where we keep it real.